Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Shaostoul, and this is the third episode of Modders Mod Review, the series where we check out mods from a modder's perspective. As a reminder, if you find or are the author of a mod, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below on a mod you'd like reviewed, and I'll see what I can do. For this episode, we'll be reviewing the Shaostoul landing gear mod. Opening up the workshop, we can see I have the mod right here. On the main image, we could see that it is large and small ship variants, survival ready. There are landing pads, landing skids, retractable landing gear, and vertical landing wheels. Looking through the different images, we could see the pads, the skids, the vertical landing wheel, and the retractable landing gear. It was last updated on February 28th. So that means that it is, for the most part, current and should work. Scrolling down, we can see the server mods and subpack collection. And then getting further down, same thing, Shao Corp tab. Should be hidden from the all tab, but isn't. Large small ship, DirectX 9, DirectX 11. The available blocks is 2 landing skids, 1 landing pad, 1 retractable landing gear composed of pieces, 2 bases, 2 rotors, 1 landing arm, and 1 wheel. And then, of course, I need to update it to include the vertical landing wheel. And then we have the master pack link and the master collection link if you run on a hard disk drive and experience the super long load times with the master pack, the Patreon link, and then the SE official forums, and then the forum thread that I post all of my videos and tutorials and all that stuff in. Here we can see it has 3,900 subs, which isn't too many, but it's, again, not one of those super fancy block mods that add turrets and weapons and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's mostly just a thing that I wanted, so I made it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and load up Space Engineers and check out our mod. So New World, Custom, Lone Survivor, Offline, Safe. And then scroll down to try to find it somewhere on this list. There we go. Change some of the settings. There we go. And then we just click OK. So pretty much, again, new world, new mod. That way we know that it's working and doesn't have any issues with it. I personally suggest that you do this if you run into an issue with a new mod you want to load in, and make sure that it's isolated to that mod and not a conflict with something else. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and check everything out. Scrolling down, you can see that it's on this left side, and we can see these don't use icons because I haven't actually provided the own icons for those pieces. Alright, so coming into here, we can see that there are different components. We have the LGS base, the rotor part, the wheel part, the landing gear, and I don't need to add the wheel. So I believe it goes like that. So this piece gets placed, the rotor piece there gets placed. We place that, and then that gets placed. Now this claw landing gear is a bit more complicated to use. I'll see if I could show you that real easily, but it was intended as something else that somebody requested, and it's kind of dangerous to use, but it's kind of cool at the same time, in that it is quite the different design. Alright, so we get the pad here, the landing skids, and the vertical suspension. So when we go to place the vertical suspension, we can see that there is a groove in the middle, and then the bar which indicates where the wheel will be, And I could probably fancy this up. I believe I'm actually working on new wheels and suspension for this, so it looks a lot better. I wanted to get this model out because somebody wanted it back when planets were first getting introduced and the suspension was fairly new. So I ended up making this. So placing it, you can see the wheel get placed there. And then we get the landing skid. And if I actually place it, you can see that they're supposed to work in line. So we can make a skid as large as we want. And it looks seamless for the most part. I have the copper pipes here, and then you don't really see the seam too much around the edge. And then we get this black line here, which is actually the emissive, so you can see whether or not you're ready to lock or not. And then we have the retractable landing gear. So if I place this, it places that arm there, and it starts in the upright position, so it makes placing this landing gear a lot easier. So you can tell that this black strip is the same as this black strip here, so we can see when we actually lock it. And then we get this piece here. Now, I tweaked this a whole bunch, and I need to do it again because it's not actually set how I wanted it. It's actually a bit off. As you can kind of tell, it sits up too high or too low, and that bugs me, so I'm going to have to fix that eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and place that. And as you can see, there is barely any clearance there, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. Oops. And I'm going to make it so it is sitting high up. And I can go ahead and put it on this side as well. So the reason you're able to place the wheels there is because I actually have that mesh offset from the bounding box. So we have this too tall bounding box here, and then we have the offset mesh, which allows us to put this offset wheel into it. And we have this kind of chrome looking design, the lug nuts and the cap. And this is actually going to be changing to a new wheel design in the next update that I release for it. And that should be coming hopefully fairly soon, but when it gets released, it will get released. There was supposed to be text going around the outside, but I'm not sure what I messed up, so I'm going to have to fix that. But it's only a small thing. So as you can see, it is indeed a landing gear, and it is collecting these into its box to say, hey, I can connect to these. And that means that if you press P, it's going to lock these as well as whatever's in its area. So if I press F11 and I turn on model dummies, you can see there's the yellow box. So as long as it's within that area, you should lock to the ground that you're resting on. We have the electric motor and the electric motor for the wheels. We can see the electric motor for the vertical suspension here and the wheel, and then the landing strip pieces there. So go ahead and turn that off. We'll look at the mount points real quick. Base piece seems to mount on all the sides and the base of the mesh, so that is good. It means it's going to be a little bit more robust, and you can line it up this way, and even if the blocks on top of it go away, you can still have them connected to one another. Looking at the arm, we can see that we have the mount points on the sides and on the bottom as well. And then going to the circle piece that goes onto there, we can see that the mount point is kind of right there. And then we have the pad, which I didn't place, and it pretty much is where the mesh is. And we can see the emissives here. If I throw a small ship here, you can see it light up. So there was a design that got released initially by some other modder, and his ended up breaking, so I ended up making my own. And I guess mine just went under the radar or aren't design appropriate for some people. But so that's pretty much everything here. Let's go ahead and mess with the vertical landing gear, because we can actually offset that by coming into here and going to this one, and we can adjust the steering angle, steering speed, return speed, as per usual, the friction, power, dampening, strength, the offset, so I can have it be low or I can have it be really high up. I believe it's slightly wrong. I believe I have to apply some power, so I'll just go ahead and throw that. And then go that way. And there we go. So it's going to be able to sit way up there if you needed it to, or it can rest way down. So you could have this on a piston and get some of that recoil there. So if you land a heavy ship, it's not going to collide immediately with the landing pad. You can also adjust the numbers here to your heart's content. And yeah, so we can also mess with these. So I'm going to go ahead and displace this one over that way. And these are actually rotors and not suspension. So if I displace that one that way and that one that way, we could see that it brings this one in further and that one out further. Now, what I should probably do is get rid of that feature so they stay nice and snug right next to this, so you don't have to worry about it accidentally colliding with something you didn't want it to. Now, to open up the F11 menu and show physics, we could see that the base is just that, the base, and then we have the collision for the landing gear, the wheel collision as well, and then the mesh collision for skids, and the same thing over here. So everything there looks to be mesh collisions and looks to be about how we would want it to be for a nice smooth ride. It's not a super low resolution cylinder, so we don't have to worry about it being too bumpy. The higher the resolution, the more processing power it takes, but at the same time, sorry about that, the smoother the ride is. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out the small ship version real quick before I try to check out the crazy claw rotor. So I can go ahead and place that down. Same size. Everything looks to be working as intended. Got the pad here. We got the skids and the vertical landing gear. So those little 1x1s are really small, but that could be good for your small ships, so you don't have to worry about having a giant landing gear wheel somewhere. Here's the small retractable one. I personally suggest this one because it's a lot more stable than the claw one I'm about to show you, but you might have fun with the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. So here we have the claw piece, rotor piece, base. Now, I'm not entirely remembering how it goes. I think it's that? No, it goes this one. Let's get rid of the collision. Alright, so here we can see that it's nice and real snug to the ground there. And then go to this piece. So that's the base. Oh, it looks like it's wigging out a little bit. It's wanting to explode or something. And the size looks to be way off. So I'm not sure what it is I did, but they're broken for the most part. I'll have to go through and fix these. So yeah, it was supposed to be designed something like this, so you can rotate this down 90 degrees and have it all kind of work together. I think it might have worked with this as well. So that there, and then that there. Yeah, there we go. So this is kind of how it was supposed to work. So then you'd rotate this 90 degrees. I'll go ahead and select our reactor. Come into here. And I'm going to go remove these real fast. Make it a little bit easier to make sure I select the right things. Alright, well, those could just fly off. Just get rid of that. Go away. There we go. Get rid of that. Alright, so that should clean up the list a little bit. Alright, so come into here. So we want to select this one, and we want it to rotate a max of, I believe, -90, and then a cap of 0. And then set it to rotate real slow. Nope, that's the wrong way. So it'd be 90 here, and then 0 here, and then go back. So it's rotating that way. Then the second piece. Alright, so it's going to lay down. And the second piece, I believe, is this one. And I want it to go minus 180 and 0. If I go back. Oh, going the wrong way. So 180. And then this one, I believe, is one of these is going to be -90. And then set this one to 0. And rotate it back as well. Nope. Looks like they're all supposed to be positive. So have that rotate back that way. And there we go. Should fit nice and snugly. Now, it has this over torque here because the torque settings are pretty high. I can lower them some as it tries to explode itself. Go even lower. So as we can see, it's not overturned anymore. And then there's a bit of messed up textures. It's because this was just a trial run. I wanted to see if it actually worked. Now, you could just go ahead and select these and just reverse them. And it'd give you a very tall landing gear that you could connect to. I believe I set it up initially so it'd go like a 45-degree angle this way, and then a 45 that way, and then a 45, so it's kind of like an angle looking thing. But it's going to do whatever it wants to do. I probably messed up somewhere. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this mod. I'm going to go check out the code side of things now. I'm just going to go ahead and save and exit. And load up the mods page. So my quick link. Oops. Minimize that. Bring up this. So the 9-digit. So we're looking for 491328. 328. and there's only one. So we're going to go ahead and copy that, change it to a zip, and extract it to its folder. So coming up here, check the thumb, make sure we got the right one. And we did. And then looking through the textures, we can see they're the same. You can see the texture right here that was supposed to be applied, but isn't. I loaded it up, but it's going to take a while to boot one of the photo editing programs up. Alright, so yeah. Here we can see all the textures, the stuff that was supposed to show up on the rim. Going to the GUI icons, we can see all the fancy icons. Go to the models, and everything's under landing gear. We can see the small ship and large ship separated. I follow a very specific naming pattern. That way I never have to worry about my mods conflicting with anybody else's. It used to be that if you had something named Cube, and then somebody else had something named Cube, your mods would have issues and things would just not go how you wanted. So I started putting SC in front of all my stuff to protect it from that, and it worked out. And then it just kind of stuck. So anything that has SC underscore whatever is probably one of my blocks or one of my textures. Going back, I could go to the data and see that there is the block categories where everything is set up. We have the display name and the name for sorting it, and then the cube blocks. So things are a little bit special with these ones because they are mostly just rotors, and I think one of them is a suspension, that vertical one, and then there's just the landing gear. So here we could see the motor bases, the motor rotors, and going down further, I should get to the landing gear. So this is the long stick one that we saw. Even further, we can see the landing skids, and then going down and down and down, we get to the small ship versions. So if I was to load up this wheel in the vanilla cube blocks, the component cost should be the same because they are technically the same size. So we'll see if I can find that decently quick. I believe it's like wheel 1 by 1. Yeah, I think. Alright, so here we are. This is the small ship version 1511. If I come here and scroll way down, so 11111. So you can see that mine are actually a little bit less on the component cost side. And then I can get to the suspension somewhere. So I'll probably type this. So this is another wheel. More wheels. Okay, so here's the suspension. This is a large block version. I want to find the small one. So here it is. Alright, so here's the component costs. 15, 15, 6, 12, 6, 10. Coming back over here. If I go back up to about around here somewhere. Landing gear, landing gear, landing gear. There's the suspension, and we can see that the component costs are the same. So again, I tried to make sure everything was balanced with the vanilla. I need to go ahead and fix or remove the one rotor set that I have because they are just dangerous as hell, especially in dedicated servers. But I've not actually heard anybody using them. So if I remove them, it should probably be okay. Alright, well that pretty much wraps up everything I could think of telling you about this mod. It would be a good idea to check it out if you were trying to get into landing gear and seeing the different types. You'd see how the pads are made and the code for them. If you wanted to make this vertical suspension, you could see how it works in the game for mount points and where the empties are with that and how it rotates. So if your block didn't meet the way this one works, you could probably tweak it until they're about the same. And then if you wanted to get crazy, you could probably check out rotors and having offset blocks and see if you can get it to work something like this. Alright, again, if you find or are the author of a mod, feel free to leave a comment in the comments section below. If you'd like to help me continue doing what it is I do, please check out my Patreon page. A link is in the description below. Not only does it help me out to create more mods, but it also helps those out that I teach to create mods for their own. It essentially allows me to dedicate more time to doing what it is I do. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. You have a good one.